Okay, so I still think that was probably Ota's plan, right? I I do think there was a very real chance that Ota has just killed himself though. But you live stream the entire thing. How do we know if this is real? We get into a serious dilemma of how can he fake a live video unless the location is slightly different.
There you are. Finally. I was looking all over for you.
I think there's a chance I figured out this game. And this is going to be my Vihiko sister theory version of this game. I'm kind of trying to predict the entire thing straight away. I've said at the beginning that this is all my Somnium. I think that we might be within our own Somnium. It's our own dream. And that's why we can't have all the information because our dream isn't giving us all the information. The memories are real to an extent, but the dream itself isn't. So, a woman being murdered by being someone being murdered by or the removal of eyes, right? That's all something we kind of remember. But I think my overarching theory is going to be the idea that there's an episode of Black Mirror called something like White Bear or something, and I think that's roughly where I'm going with this because in uh in that episode, the whole point is that somebody wakes up. They're in a situation where everyone's out to kill them. People die and they make relationships, and it's they get through this entire struggle for them just to get out onto a stage at the end, and it's all just a big ride. And they've been this somebody who's tortured and killed somebody like their child, so they're being tortured as their punishment, and they forget their memory every single day and get brought back to life. Or gets wakes up from their amnesia and they have to relive it again and again and again. With how on the nose some of these references have been in this game, the fact of a white bear has just gone and killed this person, I think might be a little on the nose. And that's my theory. I'm gonna call this white bear. I'm gonna call this theory white bear. I'm gonna hope it's true. Um, just for the satisfaction of me being right, but we're gonna be tortured by watching this game over and over. Which means that, Iber, I think all of this is some kind of meta level. Does any of the characters resemble anyone else? I don't know. But that's where I'm going so far.
It's rare to see you down like this. But it's understandable. You blame yourself for this, don't you?
See, now look at the language you're using. If this is right, it's all kind of. I mean, obviously you blame yourself. It's a normal conversation, but still, it's you. This is your fault, isn't it?
Beating yourself up about taking Iris to Marble. And about letting Ota get the upper hand on you. Am I right? Shall I tell you what Investigation HQ thinks? Ota Matsushita is a criminal stalker who committed murder-suicide. Ota had a selfish love for Iris.
I think that could be true.
He was under the delusion that Iris loved him too. But Iris refused Ota. So Ota decided that he and Iris should be together in the afterlife, killed her, then killed himself.
Is Iris dead as well?
That's ridiculous. Ota would never kill Iris. And how do you explain the other two murders? Iris's left eye was hollowed out. Just like Renju and Shoko. Those 3 murders were definitely executed by the same person.
It could still be Ota. Ota ran away from the first crime scene. Was he near the second one? He was near the second one. Could have been jealous.
The new Cyclops killer. There's no way that's Ota. Too many pieces don't fit. Too many contradictions, like killing Iris.
Such as?
There is potential.
Stay away from Tessa!
Ota showed himself on the stream. If he was gonna kill Iris and then himself, why would he do that?
So he can look like a hero. We know his Emma.
The only reason you would show yourself like that is to prove that you weren't the culprit. Ota and the polar bear on the screen at the same time would prove that they're not the same person.
They're not.
That behavior would be totally unnecessary.
Well, maybe he wasn't planning on dying.
Not on the screen at the same time.
After he killed Iris, he realized that he couldn't live with himself.
So he lies down on the workbench and turns on the ice cutting machine himself? I don't buy it.
Maybe he was thinking like this. The reason Iris and I can't be together is because her agency prohibits it, making the president, Renju, the ultimate bad guy in his mind.
Mizuki is Ota's close friend. Do you really think Ota would kill his friend's father?
And mother.
The culprit was wearing a polar bear costume, probably to hide their identity.
See, Date, please mate, but this is all cope. You're trying to cope for the death of 2 kids that you know.
But if murder-suicide was the plan, the costume served no purpose.
Yes, it did, because it showed him dying as a hero, which is what all that Ota wants.
Maybe he was trying to get at Renju by killing her.
That's a stretch. They've been divorced for years. Ota knows all about it. He wouldn't use Shoko to get to Renju.
That's a bit that doesn't make sense.
There are
to
some
me.
additional discrepancies. I analyzed the investigation report. Judging by his wound, Ota was stabbed in the side by a kitchen knife or something similar.
The knife out the locker. The knife out the locker. A secret gets exposed and a knife just comes out of nowhere. Hits the thing that explodes it all. Setting off a chain of events. And a gun to kill yourself. Because it's the mirror.
Are you sure?
I am.
Oh, I know that.
Well?
Ota could have stabbed himself. Maybe he thought it would be a fatal wound, but when it didn't work, he went for the ice-cutting machine.
What scares me is that Boss is really trying to go down this route. Why doesn't Boss have a name?
Then, shouldn't we have recovered the kitchen knife from the scene?
Yeah.
Maybe he threw it in the ocean.
Boss, come on. Ota goes out to the water, stabs himself in the gut, throws the knife over the side, then walks back to the warehouse?
Well, I wasn't being serious. I didn't think Ota was the culprit from the beginning.
No, but I do think that... I kind of do, in a sense. There is logical conclusions and explanations here that we aren't simply addressing. We might not know his reasons, and because he's dead, we can't really examine them. But let's go over the facts. We know Ota's the kind of guy who absolutely will put up different personas of himself. One as a bad guy, one as a good guy, so that him as a good guy defends Tessa. The fact that Tessa's dead as well, I don't get. Because If it's just for them both to escape, that would be one thing. For them both to be dead? Murder-suicide is clearly an option.
I was just playing devil's advocate for HQ.
Really?
Yes, really.
I don't know.
Anyway, Ota didn't kill anyone, and he didn't kill himself.
See, in that I don't buy. I do feel like we're white bearing this.
Here's what I think happened.
Stay away from Tessa!
Ota knew Iris was kidnapped, so he rushed onto the scene.
But how did they get there? And why did Ota know they were there? Ota doesn't have a car. I'm pretty sure Ota doesn't know how to drive.
That's when he saw the culprit wearing the polar bear costume.
They never appear on screen together.
He tried to fight him off, but ended up being stabbed in the side. He was weakened and losing blood at the culprit's mercy. The culprit forced him into the costume, then under the ice cutting machine. And then...
Then, who is the culprit?
I wish I knew.
We're up to 4 victims, but Ota was a special circumstance. He wasn't specifically targeted by the culprit.
Right. And he was the only one to not have his eye pulled out.
So let's focus on the 3 other victims. Shoko, Renju, and Iris. What connects these 3?
They're all connected to Renju.
Connection.
If you find a connection between the victims, you find a connection to the culprit.
You think the new Cyclops killer is related to them somehow?
Yes, we're looking at Mizuki. We're looking at any of their mothers. I find it very hard to believe that it's also Ota's dad.
Maybe not. But it's a good starting point.
Ota and Iris are both missing a dad. That is an interesting connection. Iris' mother. Okay.
Mayumi had motive for killing Iris and Renju. Mayumi hated Iris, and she didn't think well of Lemnis Gate either. And since Renju is the president... Anyway, the weak point is Renju's ex-wife, Shoko. I can't imagine why Mayumi would kill
Weak
her.
point is she would also end up
And
killing
above all
herself.
else, she would never harm her only son, let alone kill him.
Yeah. Iris' mother wouldn't kill Iris.
Hitomi and Renju are definitely linked. They were high school classmates, and she did say that she met Shoko twice. But I can't imagine she would kill Iris in such a gruesome way. No matter what the circumstances were, it seems impossible to me.
Mizuki.
Mizuki has the strongest connections with all 3 victims. Shoko and Renju were her parents, and she was close friends with Iris. She was good friends with Ota too, but that's why I could never believe Mizuki would kill all 4 of them. Thinking of her as a suspect is ridiculous.
But not impossible. Is these Mama?
Renju and Shoko were connected to the Kumakuras,
Kumakuras.
but there's no connection to Iris. Renju, Shoko, and So. There is a connection between Renju and Shoko through the Kumakuras, but again, I can't see any clear link to Iris.
Unless that was the important meeting. Me?
I know Renju and Shoko, and I'm connected to Iris, but I have an alibi. Aside from Shoko, there's no way I could have killed any of them.
Unless it's another version of me.
No. Now that I think about it, Shoko too. I don't remember killing her. My memories from 6 years ago are missing, but I still have my memory of recent events. And if I start doubting myself...
Date, I can say without a doubt that there is 0 possibility you are the new Cyclops killer.
Because you're the old one.
I have been working with you for years. I know better than anyone that you are innocent.
Boss?
I thought it over, boss. Of the people I know, I can't peg any of them as the murderer.
And no leads to pursue?
No.
Then there's only one thing you can do. Continue your investigation. Do whatever it takes to get the culprit. To get justice for the victims.
You're right.
I cannot believe the like of me. We've got to go to the crime scene first. Oh, God.